Hello everyone, welcome to this video in which we will give some instructions to conduct an activity in which the main objective is that the student is able to make the evaluation of Criterion A and Criterion B for the alternative model for personality disorders that is present in the DSM-5. So this instruction guide will review the most important issues about these two criterion, and as well as the alternative model, and then it will have the directions in order to make the exercise so that the student is able to recognize these personality functioning and pathological traits that may be present while diagnosing personality disorder according to the alternative model. So let's review for this exercise what you have to know and what you have to do. Okay? So let's remember something. In order to make this exercise, you must have read and you must have known already the model, but this is just a brief review. We're going to remember that criteria A of the alternative model is named level of personality functioning, and it has two main definitions or components. One that has to do with the self personality functioning, and then the other one with the interpersonal personality functioning. So the point here is to assess how much or how is this self-functioning actually operating in terms of identity and self-direction, and how well this personality functioning is operating in terms of empathy and intimacy. So to do that, we have to remember that these two are the core of personality functioning, and that we know that personality is about a continuum of functioning in either one of those four components. So it's not about if there is an existence of, for example, empathy, but it's more about how much empathetic you can be in your life in terms of this consistency in which you make your relationships, for example. No? So we have 5 levels of impairment. This means that in the DSM-5 alternative model, we're going to assess from 0 to 4, which is the level of impairment in each case if we're talking about of this continuum. So a moderate level of impairment in personality functioning is required for the diagnosis of a personality disorder. This threshold is based on empirical evidence that the moderate level of impairment maximizes the ability of clinicians to accurately and efficiently identify personality disorder pathology. And it says moderate because the other two are non-existent and then some impairment. But moderate impairment means that there's already an impairment. There's already a set impairment. So that's why we're going to take that one as the main factor to diagnose. So here it is. If you have no impairment, if the person has no impairment, then it's level 0. Some impairment is level 1, which we wouldn't recognize it as a personality disorder. But when we're talking about moderate, when you read the definitions for moderate, then you can see that actually that's the moment from there on we could diagnose. At least we could mark that level of personality functioning as a key to diagnose with a moderate level of impairment. So this is what in the chapter of the alternative model, these are the definitions. So for example, here we have identity, self-direction, empathy, and intimacy. And here are the descriptions for little or no impairment. Here are the descriptions for some impairment. Here are the descriptions for moderate impairment. From here on, we would see that there's this, we would mark it as a pathological level of personality functioning, severe impairment, and of course extreme impairment. Okay, so So this is for the criterion A. Now, what are you going to do in this exercise? Let me just skip this part. You will have this Excel spreadsheet or document, and it says here you will take this picture, which is Prozac Nation, and we're talking about the criterion A, so it says Prozac A here, and the instructions are as follows. It says, this is an exercise for the student to identify the level of personality functioning according to the DSM-5 alternative model personality disorders that are present or observable in movie characters that we have been analyzing, that have been analyzed. Please read each of the personality functioning descriptions and determine if you believe that the main character in the movie presents any of the descriptions in each level. Mark the level that best fits the description in column G, and mention the part of the movie where you see that consistent functioning. At the end, calculate the average of all descriptions. So what you're going to do is, sorry that this is in Spanish, it should be in English, but I couldn't find it in the written or in this worksheet. So here for identity, this is the translation and the descriptions that we just saw right here, for example, no? So identity and little no impairment would be here translated identity, little no impairment. Okay, so you are going to read, for example, for identity, these 5 descriptions. So these 5 descriptions, for example, it has a permanent consciousness of her self, and keeps the appropriate limits according to the roles. And then the extreme impairment would be the experiences of one single self and autonomy are virtually absent. So this would be the extreme impairment of this consciousness of own self. Okay, so here we would have no impairment, here we would have a lot of impairment. So you would think about the main character of the movie, and you are going to see if the person would be better placed in here or in here, and here you're going to mark, okay, for this specific category, this character, in this case Lizzie from the movie Prozac Nation, we would give her a 3, for example. I'm just making it up right now, I didn't read it. And maybe here it would be a 1, and maybe here it would be a 2. Okay, so at the end what you're going to do is that you're going to make the evaluation of the average of these 3, and you're going to get 2. Okay, so in this case what you're going to do here, sorry I forgot, is that you're going to mention which parts of the movie make you think that this is a 3. Okay, and which parts of the movie make you think this is a 1, and which parts of the movie make you think this is a 2. Okay, so at the end you're going to have the number 2. Okay, and the same you're going to do with self-direction, with empathy, and with intimacy. All right, so that way you are going to have an average here in each of those 4 personality functioning areas. Okay, so that's what you have to do in each case. And at the end it says Prozac summary, and here you are going to put, here you can see the instructions, sorry, let me sorry, okay, there it is. So here you're going to put the average points of each one of the components of the level of personality functioning, and you're going to say if it's moderate or greater, and if it's a yes or a no. Okay, all right, so let me go back to the presentation here, and let me just see where was I? There it is. Okay, so we're going to do the same for the criteria B, which is pathological personality traits. In this case, these are the trait domains. As you remember, well, you also have to know that traits are the tendency to feel, perceive, behave, and think, right? We're not going to discuss that right now. but we're going to discuss this. So here are the domains, okay, and the facets. So what does this mean? Again, this is the name of the domain, let's say the family of traits. So negative affectivity is the domain, and the facet would be each one of these traits. These are called traits or facets of the negative affectivity domain, okay? So again, what we're so this chart shows all of the domains and facets, and remember, these are pathological traits, okay? The healthy traits are here, so versus emotional stability, all right? So the pathological domain is negative affectivity versus the healthy trait or trait domain would be emotional stability. And the same with detachment versus extraversion, antagonism versus agreeableness, disinhibition versus consciousness, and psychoticism versus lucidity. Okay, so these you must have reviewed them before. So what are we going to do in that case? Well, the same. You're going to come to this part where it says Prozac B. And here you have the instructions. So you're going to think again in Lisi from the movie Prozac Nation. And you are going to, it says, student to identify some pathological traits present or observable in movie characters that have been analyzed. Please read each of the traits and determine if you believe that the main character in the movie presents a tendency to feel, perceive, think, and behave according to the description of each trait. So what you're going to do is that you're going to be thinking in Lisi of Prozac Nation, and you're going to read the definition of emotional ability, which is in the DSM-5, and you can find it there. And there you can see if it's present. You would set here yes, and here you would put in an example from the movie. Why are you saying that this trait is present in order to think that it's consistent as a way of perceiving, thinking, behaving, or feeling? And here you're going to put the examples of the movie, and you're going to do that with all of them. Okay. You are going to review all of the pathological traits in each character of the movie, and at the end you're going to come here and you will only put here the specific trait that you think is present, the ones that you said that were present. Okay, so you're going to put here present. You're not going to mind this one, just put present. Of course, there is a numerical way to measure this, which has to do with another scale, but we cannot put that scale to these characters in the movie. That's an exercise that maybe you can do after for clinical purposes, but in this case you're only identifying this presence of traits. And at the end, and most importantly, once that you have this summary completed with the average points of this of the level of personality and functioning and the traits, the pathological traits that are present, this is the most important part. You're going to review which are the needs and the necessities that the alternative model places in order to say that there is a personality disorder, and you will actually write your diagnostic impressions. So you would say, we believe that personality disorder that has to be diagnosed according to the alternative model is this one, because there's compliance with Criterion A and Criterion B, or maybe it's not possible to make that and we will have to go with the trait specified personality disorder because it doesn't really fills all the definitions for the specific personality disorder. Okay. If you have any questions, come to the instructions, and I hope that this guide has been instructive in order for you to start. You have to deliver this Excel. Again, with this would be only for this movie. Then we're going to review The Pianist. Then we're going to review the movie Catch Me If You Can, which you can find it here. And finally, the American Psycho movie. Okay. So you will have to end up having 4 of these summaries. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed this activity.